Well, hello, community, creatives, kind folks out there. It's RPG with DBJ. Hello, everyone. Say hello, Sophie. She doesn't want to say. Yeah, meow. You're so silly. Today's Wednesday, World Building Wednesday. We're still continuing about our travel plans, creating worlds where we and situations and RPG encounters where we travel for long and far, and kind of how to make it a little bit more interesting. Maybe talk about some of the role playing games that have some of those elements in it, etc., etc. Just do a little bit of a preamble. I do have an email so that I can, for those of you who are unable to participate in the chat or I don't want to talk a little bit long form, you can send me an email. I have mentioned down in the doobly-doo that if the email's like hideously long, too involved, doesn't have to do with role-playing games or it's just plain evil, yeah, it's not happening. I'm just going to delete it and ignore it. Keep it on point, keep it succinct, even if it's only like 3 lines, like, oh man, could you address this thing, or could you bring up this other subject, or something of that nature. Yeah, just email me. That way I can actually go through it, whether I'm at work or overnight, and then bring it up the next day. Just as a preamble, just before we get into our main topic, as well as the fact that for those of you who don't know, I'm sure all you guys already know, I am a contributing writer to Critical Hit Publishing. Myself, Alex, Rob, we do a number of things. So every D6 and D20th, we do release an adventure key, which is like a 3 to 4 page mini adventure with options, optional NPCs, locations, creatures, plot hooks, the whole 9 yards. The email is rpgwithdbj@gmail.com, as well as all the other emails. Links are down in the doobly. I am running a panel on November 3rd, which is a Saturday. It will be at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time this time, and it will be basically cinematic environs, and I'm going to get a little more specific, although I tend to talk in generalities. But that panel will be in a 24-hour convention for Con Plus One. Con Plus One is a 24-hour online convention for role-playing games. A ton of people are running panels and games and all that kind of stuff. And they are supporting Child's Play, which is a nonprofit organization to get role-playing games in the hands of children in hospitals. So that, as well as the fact that, of course, I'm always writing if and when I can, even if it means like, writing, a page or two when I'm on the shitter. So yeah, always writing. Subterranean, Battlefields, Cityscapes is coming out. Liches or Licks is coming out. The official name, we haven't really haven't narrowed it down yet. Vince says, Vince mentions, do you GM a game in Con Plus One? I am not GMing a game. I am trying to carve out a 4-hour spot because that's what they want. And if I run anything, it'll be 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons version of the original module, Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. So I'm really trying to carve out some time. Well, first of all, the panel's actually public and already up. So if you haven't gotten a notification for it, it'll come again. So it's open and public, so you can see that it is coming up. Set a reminder for yourself or something. Just hit the bell. But as far as like a 4-hour block game, I have, because then on my end it'll be after work. I can't promise when I get off work, so it'll probably be like 9 or 10 o'clock at night my time. which would put it, or maybe even as late as midnight, which puts it like 4 o'clock in the morning, across the pond or something. Like, yeah, I haven't. Terrible. Okay, so that's all the preamble. That's all the things that are, well, a very loose overview of the things that I'm getting involved in. So, uh, World Building Wednesday, travel plans. All right, so one of the things I thought about, or have been thinking about, as is this idea that Prue has brought up, is the fact that oftentimes we love our settings where, you have yourself your centralized locations, whether it's like a mega city, or it's like a locus of different races in a far off, interstellar realm or what have you. But you always have your outer locations, whether it's like Tatooine, Yavin or something in Star Wars, or you have like the the outer realms or what have you. There's always a location on a map where it's like a big donut, and the central areas where everyone hangs out, and then you have your outer areas, and the distance it takes, the harshness that you have to go through to get there. And the other day, I actually pulled out my DMG, the Dungeon Master's Guide, just to show that, for those who think that there aren't any rules that you can like pick and choose out of them, there really are some rules. And it is trying to find those things depending on what game you're playing. It doesn't have to be, of course, Dungeons and Dragons, but to find, to pull out and pull on the tendrils of those little things that make travel interesting. And I would I would challenge you that one of the things like I mentioned about random encounters, and of course they don't have to be random. You can just write down 5 encounters, and then in your head just pick and choose which which encounters at which point for each, as the players run along. But encounters are for the GM. Encounters are like, it's your way of expressing the importance, the details, the theme, um, the emotional setting of what you want your world to be. Traveling very far in Dark Sun is going to be a lot different than traveling very far in, Camelot or Avalon. Traveling very far, if you're vampires, traveling from Chicago to Washington, D.C., or to France or something. Yeah. Vince says travel could be a quest. Think of Lord of the Rings, for example, and that's exactly right. Like I mean, though it wasn't necessary in the Lord of the Rings movies to have the drone shots and the helicopter shots of the group like running through, snow-covered fields and running through, plains and rocks and stuff. But how cool was it, right? You just see these lone travelers, and like the landscape in that was just surrounding them, just pristine and untouched and raw and dangerous, and being alone and lonely, but yet you're gathered with your own, your fellow travelers and stuff. I mean, the travel itself could and should be the quest, not just the can we hand wave everything and just get to the front of the dungeon. And I get it. I mean, there's a perfectly acceptable reason to say, yes, I know you're on a sailing ship and the seas are, storm tossed and stuff. Yeah, but we really need to get the adventure going. I need you to get to the Isle of Dread, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you're running a campaign and you really want to make it feel like they are traveling far, and that once they get there, it's still dangerous to get back home, I would suggest to you that you make the travel dangerous, and then insert things that also make it worth their while. Maybe they learn things. They find individuals that cross paths, and they gain some information. They get some allies. They learn what kind of enemies are going to be. They learn the kind of adversaries they're going to find when they get there. If they find dragon cultists, maybe they realize that they're going to, discover dragons on the island or something. If they, uncover, scouts riding in the desert, riding giant scorpions, then they realize that, yeah, maybe we're going to find scorpion riders when we get there, and maybe an army of them or something like that. A foolish Kiwi say travel's half the journey. Got to get to the quest to complete it. Yeah, exactly. A foolish Kiwi. I'm sorry. Vincent Stein mentions The Hobbit as well. Oh, Deadman says The Hobbit with the traveling with the Hobbit. Although the parts of the Hobbit that we kind of hate, the more cinematic ones where they're having the fights and the dwarves are like bouncing off of each other and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's in hindsight, it's fun. I know thematically it didn't quite fit the Lord of the Rings, but I gotta admit, like, it now I can appreciate the hilarity of the dwarves, like the comedic and acrobatic elements of them fighting together is kind of cool. I think now I can finally let my anger go and enjoy it without getting pissed off about it. Prue mentions a lot of GMs just handwave traveling. I find it's 6 weeks travel, plays one night in a random encounter, and now you're there, right? That's the I think we do ourselves a disservice, and I get first of all, we have a limited amount of time. So if you're doing like a 1-shot or like a 3-shot or something like that, I get hand waving it. But if you really want to engage it in a campaign, yeah, I would say you got to throw the travel in. And it doesn't necessarily mean like, I need to roll up 8 combat encounters, but I would say roll up, not roll up, to create 8 encounters, and those encounters don't necessarily need to be, combat. It could be storms roll in, the flash floods, and creatures hunting each other, and scouts and travelers, and finding a monolith in the woods, or finding an abandoned encampment or something. Anything that engages the players, gives them some information, gives them a feeling of what this world is like. Going to confront Strahd, the vampire in Barovia, is going to give you a different feeling in that world than Eberron or something like that. Vince mentions just traveling through a continent in a fantasy game can be a huge task. Also think of Around the World in 80 Days. You know what? I actually did think about Around the World in 80 Days, and that's despite the fact that every visual version of that is like kind of gonzo, where you go to different countries, and it's basically like move. It's like go to different places over and over and over again. That can be kind of fun, especially if you want to introduce the PCs to your world. Like I'm doing this very generally, right? Like, let's say your world has a South American feel, and a Central African feel, and a in a Central India, and Madagascar, and Norwegian, and Mongolian feel, and a Japanese feel to it, and an Australian feel, or Swedish feel. If your world has all these different elements, then and they have to travel from one to the other, having them interact with the cultures and the creatures that live there, and the people, and how they live, and just give them little bits and pieces of what it's like. I mean, yeah, that's how you introduce your world, instead of giving them a 30-page document and saying, please read this before we run the game again. Foolish Kiwi mentions a lot of GMs who feel like their quests are lacking or rushed can often be fixed by simply having them role play out the journey, meeting other strange travelers, or learning why people never travel. Exactly. You know, the PCs are always the travelers, right? They're the exception to the rule. They are the space cadets. They are the backpack. You know, in our real world, they are the backpackers of our world. When most of us don't travel very far from home for lengthy amounts of times. Many of us don't, but sometimes they'll meet a business traveler that's traveled the world just as much as the backpacker, right? They may meet the person that wants to bike across country in support of a nonprofit, or to bring, you know, uh, attention to an ideal. They can meet the hobo that's homeless and maybe dealing, you know, has suffered so many setbacks in their life that they've lost everything, and they meet this individual and maybe they learn something from them. You know, those are the kind of things in our real life that those individuals can confront. And then, you know, you always have the people who, you know, who scoff at the traveler, right? Like, why haven't you settled down? Why are you running away from your problems? You know, why aren't you like the rest of us? And even that can give people an indication of what cultures are like in your world or your setting. Azala mentions, I played in one game where the DM rolled an encounter every day for travel. It ended up being quite tedious. By the 15th combat encounter, it was a month of travel. For me, I feel that it's a mindset. If you automatically, whether you're a DM, a player, and the minute you're like, random encounters, you know, like if you're just a DM and just, I guess I got to roll in this thing. If you've already made up your mind that this is going to be tedious, and you've already made up your mind that this is boring or useless, or just a, you know, it's just a resource drain and nothing more, and it doesn't fit in your world, then you've already, like, you've already preset the feelings everyone else is going to have, right? The point is to change the mindset up top, to change the mindset in your players. Yeah, Foolish Kiwi says, alone. Yeah, Azal says, my issue with Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit is all those poor orcs being killed. Orc lives matter. Don't feel bad too much for them. I mean, you know, they're the ones that are running from the cops. I mean, it's their fault. Oh, geez. Let's not go down that path. But yeah, they killed. They killed enough to make like another country out of orcs, man. They were just slaughtering them left and right. Which makes you think, how do they breed so many of them? Vince says, your GM should maybe rework his random encounter table if only combat encounters are there. As all, I absolutely agree with that. Prue says, sometimes hand waving is fine, but I want to learn to travel with my players without being an awkward interlude that feels like it holds up the real point of the story. Yeah. I agree with that, and in many ways, it's almost like think of a movie where all you have are your scenes of the talking heads. And what I mean is, like, a talking head scene is people communicating with each other. And a good storyteller or director in a movie or television show will add motion and elements to the talking heads. And what I mean by that is the travelers, whether they're on a spacecraft, whether they are on a wagon in the Old West, whether they are, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. There's a movie called 3:10 to Yuma, and 3:10 to Yuma is about, it's an Old West movie. It's been redone, I think, in the later 2000s. Anyway, 3:10 to Yuma is a movie about taking an arrested convict, gunslinger and bandit marauder, and he's got to meet this train to go to prison, to be taken to jail on a train called the 3:10 to Yuma, because that's where the prison is. It's Yuma, and the entire movie is about, like, a a farmer. He used to be like a Confederate or a Yankee soldier, and the people they meet along, and they travel along with this prisoner to Yuma, and they travel. And the whole point is them talking about their lives and things that they their regrets and all that kind of stuff. But along the way, they're riding horses, and they go through snow, and it's hot, and there are Native American tribes or indigenous people tribes want to attack them, and there's a railroad that they're building, and there's like the Chinese that were enslaved, and they were digging mines out, and like is all these different things they encounter, and the whole point is they are traveling. And so as they're traveling, they are revealing bits and pieces of the information about themselves, the world around them, why they're going to 310 to Yuma, should they even bother doing it, etc. And it gives them a chance to interact with this stuff going on in the background. Azala says one of the best random encounters I've seen was done by my boyfriend. He rolled up were-crocs. Ooh. So while we were crossing a bridge, they knocked it down and attacked in the water. Ooh. See, I love that stuff. That's dangerous, and it's like brutal, but I love those kind of things. Like, why wouldn't were-crocs knock a bridge down and pull you down in the water, right? It's like, I'm being attacked by crocs. I gotta swim. I might drown. I probably can't see in the murky water. They're trying to grapple me and pull me down into it. That's great. And then if you're the PC that's on the banks of the river, you're just like, I'll just throw you a rope because I'm not going in there. Foolish Kiwi says, to me, travel is an opportunity to have fun with creatures, cultures, and terrain at the players that they wouldn't get to interact with in our hub area. Exactly. Like, Westeros, Game of Thrones, right? Westeros, the Iron Throne. It's the seat of culture. It's where everyone's backstabbing each other. And then you go way out to the wall, right? You go way out to Winterfell. You go way out to Essos. You go down to Dorne and whatnot. And these places are nothing like where they've come from. What's the other show? Vikings is another show that, they show the Vikings traveling around. The Vikings go to France. They go to England. They even go into the Middle East. And, it's a completely different culture and environment that they have to deal with, and they have to rethink the things that they're doing, which is cool. And it's, of course, playing with creatures, absolutely reskinning the creatures that they know, like having were-crocs, right? Oh yeah, we know what a werewolf is, but a were-croc, what the hell, those things are great. You can have maybe the barbarian orcs in the north are different than the more civilized but still combat oriented orcs in the south. The kobold riding pterodactyl people in the east might be different than the bat riding goblin people in the west. You know what I mean? Like, they might be similar in outlook but not exactly the same, and that's a good way for you to to establish a norm and then flip the norm on them, to say, they may have a predisposition to hate orcs in one region, and then you find out that the people have a treaty with the orcs, and we're peaceful. They protect us. So we interbreed. I don't see a problem with orcs, 500 miles away, and the PCs are like, my ranger hates orcs. I've been trained to kill them, but now I've got to work with them. That kind of thing. Vincent says the best random encounter handling I've seen was from Adam Coble in his Tomb of Annihilation campaign. He rolled a group of skeletons as an encounter and made them into a comedic encounter because the skeletons did not know they were dead and just kept doing what they did when they were alive. It was actually pretty neat because the players got inside into a different time through them. And that's exactly right. It doesn't necessarily mean an encounter doesn't need to be combat oriented. I mean, yes, you've got PCs that'll just poke things until, it fights. But meeting a sphinx, coming across the dead that are still doing what they did in life, coming across ghosts, coming across a tribe of orcs that doesn't want to fight. They could be armed to the teeth, and you're just like, look, dude, like, you go your way, we go ours. We don't want to fight. Coming across a lone hermit that's just eating dinner, the cooking rabbit, and like, who's blind and out there in the wilderness, and you're like, how's this guy survive out here? And he's just like, hey, have a seat in my pot, and I will share with you my rabbit stew and share a tale, that kind of thing. Meeting fake creatures that just want to share stories or something. And then of course, coach tying all of that into your world, right? If the point is to go fight the dragon in the mountain, just shaping all of those stories, the hermit that knows about the dragon, the orcs, the orcs that are traveling and they don't want to fight because they're escaping a world that's being taken over by the dragon, finding an ancient tomb that's completely empty, that's been destroyed, that was, where sacrifices were made to the dragon people or something, and there are people out in the woods that are, or travelers that hate it or something, and are trying to destroy them. Like, all those little things, wrapping it in your world and your setting, or what you're trying to get across, is excellent. Azala says, I love the aspect of using travel for role play, having characters talk about their lives and who they are, but that is very dependent on the players to make it work, and often they don't want to. The super mysterious rogue who always sits in the shadowy corner won't be super mysterious if his mysterious background is revealed. Yes, but no, kind of. If it hasn't happened, it's not real, right? And I get the idea. I hear you, Azala. Like, the shadowy rogue in the corner that's always in the dark with the cloak pulled up, and Mr. or Mistress Mysterio. That's interesting for a short period of time. After a while, it's like, okay. Like, if we don't know if you write a 3-page backstory and then never reveal it, it's as if it never happened, right? There are plenty of stories where you have the loner, the Aragorn in the corner, the Wolverines, the Batman that doesn't want to talk. But ultimately, if you take a look at those stories, they always latch on to someone or something. A small child, another member of the party where they know they're going to be in a life and death situation, and they reveal something very personal, and maybe even granting. This is where bennies come in. If you have players that just aren't into that kind of thing, 5th edition has inspiration that most of us end up forgetting about. Grant some inspiration. Hey, this is your time to do a flashback or a soliloquy or your introspection moment. Here, put a D20 on the table. Hey, everyone, here, this is your spotlight moment. You talk about your dwarven heritage. Hey, you talk about leaving your elven home. Hey, you talk about being a tiefling and the church going after you or whatever. Oh, great story, couple of lines, do some interaction, boom, here's a D20. Hand them out like candy if they don't want to do that. Like, just offer it to them. Who cares if they have too many bennies, they're going to succeed. It's not like you're going to run out of like ideas or run out of creatures or run out of locations. So what? They beat my big baddie. Pfft, make another one. It's I understand that some of us put a lot of work and a lot of effort. Hey, kitty. A lot of work and a lot of effort into. Come on. Sorry. Yes, kitty. You guys haven't seen her before. This is Tia. She is deaf. Let's see if we can get her up here. There we go. All right. Come on, Tia. Yeah, she's deaf. She's 18, going on 19 years old or something. So, yeah, but she's my baby. She can't hear herself scream. And I know that's what you want. Yeah. Sit over here. Yeah, sit down. There you go. Good kitty. Sorry. She was poking my leg this entire time. Like, I want head scratchies. Vincent says, I love the potential of campfires to tell stories between characters. Attempted to make house. All right, guys, listen. One cat at a time. I love the potential of campfires that tell stories between characters. Tempted to make house rules for getting inspiration for sure when doing that, for example. I love, side note, I love the game Within the Ring of Fire. I like how it's shaped. And in many ways, I love the terminology used in it. The game master is called the Flame Tender. The players, I'm sorry, the mooks, the unnamed crunchies are called embers. The players are called stars. It's very reminiscent. There's other terminology used in the game, and it's all reminiscent of sitting around a campfire, looking at the stars, looking at looking into the flames and talking about things and having the darkness just surround you while you're sitting around a campfire, warming your hands in a brutal world. And so I like that. A Deadman Sins, like the Makole from a Werewolf. They are the shape changing really kitties. They are the shape changing dinosaur / alligator people from the White Wolf games. Oops, unprofessional. Prue says you can also share something without sharing everything. Exactly. And if I could put this out for players, when you are traveling, one of the best things to do, and I didn't make this up. This information I found years ago from someone putting out player information. One thing to do is every player at the table should ask one leading question of every other player at the table at least once. So if you have 3 players and they each ask each other a question, that's 6 interactions to encourage the other person to talk about themselves. For example, shadowy McShadow sitting in the corner playing with the dagger that they're always playing with, that's etched in, got some weird etching, and it's got a black blade or something like that. Have someone ask them about that. Have someone ask the dwarf, what do the braided knots in their beard mean, or have the barbarian talk to the wizard and say, hey, can you teach me how to read those symbols that you call words or something in that book? Have some interaction. Ask a leading question. Don't ask a yes or no. Ask, why did you leave your family? I noticed that you wear the crest of a noble. And then let the player just answer the question. It could be a short answer, doesn't matter, long question, but ask a leading question and interact. And I would behoove that every player, because everyone wants to feel special, everyone wants to be in the spotlight. So if you as a player interact with the other players and just ask them at least just one question, just ask them one thing. Wow, you were able to, you're a master of arcane energies or something. Where did you learn that? Boom, ask the question and then sit back and let them answer it. Gonzalez says, I hear what you're saying, DBJ, but bad role players are bad for a reason. Yeah, there's nothing. There's very few. Sometimes we try to find in-game mechanics to make bad role players bad, and bad meaning like sometimes they just don't want to interact. Sometimes people are just they fall on the a-hole side of the spectrum. There's no game system that's going to correct that, right? Rules light, rules heavy, bennies and all that. Like this, you're not going to find too many. You're not going to find too many mechanics that are going to cure that, no matter what you do. Yeah. Poo says, "Oh, Tia, yeah, Tia's, yeah, she does it. I love her. She, I've kind of taught her a little, very rudimentary sign language, not true sign language, but just little hand signals and things to get her, because she can't hear, and I try not to surprise her. So whenever she's asleep on something, I shake the the blanket or like come near her and kind of move things around so she wakes up on her own time and stuff. Yeah. Foolish Kiwi says every party just needs a dwarf with no personal space bubble to drag the loner over to the table with everyone for ale and mead. You're absolutely right. Ale and meat. But yeah, there's always that person, right? If you're the bard, you're the outgoing one, drag that person that wants to sit by themselves, throw a cup of ale in their hand, put them in the spotlight and say, hey, everybody, tell us a story. You don't need to be in your own class roles. Like the bard doesn't need to be the only one telling a tale. Putting the paladin in the middle of the bar and like making them sing karaoke or something. How cool would that be, right? Just interacting with people, I think sometimes not just brings them out of their shell, but will make them feel special. And if you this is a self-correction, right? If you're a player and your barbarian is always up front, always killing everything and always taking the spotlight, step the hell back, right? Step back and go, damn, wow, it really does feel like I'm kind of taking a spotlight. Hey, sorcerer or something, what does that birthmark mean or whatever, and step back and let them take charge a little bit, let them go forward. If it's a barbarian, step back a little bit and go, I'm not familiar with these arcane markings, you tell me what they are and lead us forward into the cave or cavern or whatever. Azala says, play with one guy who always responded with, let me put it this way. Yeah. You get a lot of those. Like, well, see, the contrarian. Playing with contrarians are really terrible too. The person that's just like, well, everyone's going left, I'm going to go right. When everyone's sleeping, I'm awake. When everyone's awake, I'm going to sleep. When everyone's going to the blacksmith, I'm going to the library. It's less like, really, you've always got to be that guy that wants to go somewhere else. Yeah, Wang Rod, Prue says, Wang Rods, as Koval calls them. Yeah. You can't. There's no game that's going to stop that. That's a personality quirk, and yeah, you can't get around that. Vince says there are games which, when played as written, can help shape players into better players, but it's hard. They have to accept that, and don't fight it. For example, trying to power game Vampire and the various White Wolf things. I mean, it has turned into that. There are horror stories of people getting buckets of D10s and all that kind of business. But the game setting is supposed to be far more introspective. You're supposed to play as vampires and monsters and balancing, doing horrific acts, but you're still trying to maintain your humanity. And then there's the people who are just like, power gamers, and it's just like, you're ruining it for everybody else. Azala says, there's a quote, where were you for 2 days? And he's like, well, let me put it this way. The streets are cleaner now. Yeah, you always get the I'm going to commit these heinous crimes because we have a paladin in the group. So weird. It's some people just it doesn't even matter the setting. Some people just want to be the contrarian, and that's just terrible. It's cute once, it's annoying 5 times. Azala says, so I made it. So I made it. So every time he says that, my character called him out on it. Why don't you just put it that way that people actually say? Yeah, let me put it this way. Well, just put it that way. Don't let you. Yes, you have permission to put it that way. So just say it. Yeah. Sometimes that's a little nervous quirk. It's like me saying that I've got to stop doing, or saying words like. So I did this thing, and like, or even saying, well, my character's gonna blank, or my character is going to blank. So my character does this thing, and some people don't want to talk in character, especially if it's like, emotionally or socially uncomfortable. If my character wants to make some kind of romantic overture to another person at the table, and I don't feel that way, and that person would feel uncomfortable, especially if social and gender roles are in conflict. Then maybe it's a fade to black. Well, my character approaches your tent and fade to black, right? uh Deadman says, oh, you were mopping the streets with the faces of criminals. Yeah, just cleaning up, just doing a little bit. um so the other thing about travel that we can incorporate into the world are changing elements. So what I mean by changing elements, Foolish Kiwi says, saying is just a mini meditation mantra. Got to get ready to cast enthrall chat again. Thanks. Thank you very much. But no, it's saying plenty of times is a unconscious effort to both maintain my speaking. So there are those who listen, and if there's dead space, you need to have people listen. That's why people that perform podcasts and radio stations have co-hosts and music in the background or sounds or something, because you want to fill the dead space. So if I stop talking for a while and you're listening, some people find the dead space a little bit disconcerting in the audio format. And then I'm trying to gather my thoughts together because I think a mile a minute. My mind's always on something else because someone or something will, like you guys will mention something in the chat. And once mentioning something in the chat, it makes my mind like, oh man, this would be a great idea, or I can use that for this thing. So that's where that comes from. So you're saying, so what you're saying is you need a co-host. I could use one. I would love to have one or more revolving co-hosts, so that I know that I get up at 6 a.m. in the morning here in Eastern time. But yeah, Vince says I've been a co-host a couple of times already. Absolutely. It allows me opportunity to think of things, as well as it gives me like mental fuel, because again, one line from one person randomly just sparks so many other ideas, as well as the fact that I can't expect anyone else to, Monday through Friday to get up at or to participate. It's like a full-time job. I can't ask somebody to do a full-time job if they're not getting paid to do it. I mean, now if the channel grows large enough to warrant that would be awesome. But yeah. Vince says, could join you tomorrow if you want, no problem. Sure. Yeah. And Scott Post says, yeah, that was enjoyable, Vince. I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. Yes, Vince, I would love to have you tomorrow. That would be, but I'm not saying like someone better join me or else. That's kind of weird. But the back on point, the idea of one thing about creating, having people involved in travel and expressing themselves when traveling. Also, if your dungeon master, this is a synergy thing, right? If your dungeon master is thrown for a loop, let's say you and all your players go left, and the DM's like, man, I really thought you guys were going to go right. I need some time to think. If you have some synergy with them, instead of folding your arms and calling them out on it, start to interact with your players. Say you're traveling, and then that gives you that role-playing interaction, gives the game master time to go, oh man, okay, I got this idea. I'm writing some notes down. I don't know what to do. Wow, they went left and I thought they were going to go right. They went to the mountains. I don't have anything prepared for my mountains. I got this idea for this ogre. All right. And 15 minutes later, great. Okay, guys. And then interrupt the role-playing aspect. So that's another thing too. As a player, you should give synergy to your game master as well. And so that interaction, that hey, we're traveling from one place to another. If you hand wave it, maybe that's not enough time for your game master to prepare something in their head. But if you start interacting, it's the, hey, I got to get up and go to the bathroom, because really what you're going in there is to try to come up with with the fact that someone threw a monkey wrench into your thing. Although you could always do a quantum ogre. Quantum ogring is, I feel, is perfectly acceptable. GM tool. I don't see any problems with it. I know some players will balk at the idea if they know it, but if you just do a quantum ogre and never let them know, it's not a big deal. So yes, Vince, I'll send you a link tomorrow. So sure, absolutely join in. I would love it. Absolutely. Azala says, I'm sure there are multiple people who'd be willing to come on certain days. I do it. Why, thank you very much. I would love to. This RPG with DBJ isn't. I don't want it to belong to me. I would love. My ultimate goal is to be a nexus of community and creatives and kind folks, which is how I begin the chat. I want to be a nexus for community, so when people have ideas or things come up, we can talk about it, whether it's good or bad. But always geared towards the positive. I want to be a nexus for creators, so people who have a 300-page manuscript and no one knows about it. I would love to be that person that's like the groundswell. Like, this is where you heard it first. This is where this individual can come to, who has created a new setting or new rule set, or is doing they're starting their own Twitch channel, or they're starting their new podcast and they want people to find out about it. I want to be that person. And I just want to be a place where those of us who are extreme moderates can hang out together, who are like, look, I'm not into the drama. I'm not into the fighting. I'm not into, talking out the side of my neck. I just want to interact with people and have a good day. So that's my ultimate goal. And to have people on, co-hosts, as you will, I would love to have it. So Azala, yeah, send me anything or that you would wish, if you're working on something or you'd like to be part and parcel of it. I would absolutely love to have you. Vince says, never interpreted that way. Yeah, referring to being forced to come on. Yeah, no, I know. I'm just being silly. Deadman says, well, you have cats for today. Yeah, I wish they could be co-hosts. Then I could get all the clickbaity stuff in there. Man, that would be awesome. Have them rolling some dice. Oh, I could get like foam dice and sit on the floor and have the cats play with with foam D20s or something like that. That'd be awesome. Foolish Kiwi says, I'd love to do it too. It's a tight-knit community and pretty much everyone meshes fairly well talking wise. Yes, that's what Foolish Kiwi says. Vince says, do we have the blow of steam week next week? Absolutely. We're going to blow off steam. We're going to get rude. We're going to be harsh. we're going to talk about all those things that we hate, like things that just pet peeves. Like, oh, why do they always drop the D4 on the floor? Like, roll on the table. Don't be so dyslexic, which is rude to people who are dyslexic, but I don't mean any disrespect to them. But I do mean those people who are disrespectful to the dice because they can't seem to roll them on the table, and those kind of little things, right? That's what we're going to do. Vince says, I'm not sure how many times I can make it on the next weeks, though, because I'm moving in a couple of weeks. There's still lots to do. Moving. That sucks. I wish. Shame we're not in the Eclipse phase world where we can just like take all our stuff and recycle it and just get it reprinted where we go. That'd be awesome. Moving just sucks. You gotta convince people to move with you by buying them pizza and then trying to arrange it and stuff. It's terrible. Bruce says, this is the main reason why I've hung around your channel for so long, because I appreciate your approach so much. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm an extreme moderate. I love. I get excited about role-playing games. I feel an energy about it, because it rejuves me in my mind, and I'm like, oh man, I've got this great idea, or you guys made me think about this thing. and even if it doesn't come to fruition, it's this is like my morning coffee, because when I start these, like before I do get on the cam, like I do the little the little uh the self-checking things, right? Like, okay, is the nose all right? Are my eyes okay? Wake up, yawn, stretch. Okay, let's get ready. And if you notice, every once in a while, like about 2 or 3 times a week, you'll notice me talking, and then like the little yawn will start to like come up here, and I'm trying to stop it, and that's because it's 6 o'clock in the morning for me. But as I get involved in it, I start thinking, like my mental energy start to go wild, and then I'm like, oh man, this rejuves me all day long. And since I work by myself most of the day, I'm in my own thoughts. It gives me something to, like, mental fuel. You know what I mean? It gives me something to work on. I'm not here for you. Honestly, what you don't realize is that you're here for me in many ways. I feel it's in an imbalance, so I think I get more out of it than you guys. So sorry, but it's just a fact. Zala says, I got a dentist appointment next week on Wednesday, so I could try to come on to blow off some steam Monday or Tuesday. You absolutely. So I will. We will contact each other once the stream ends. Unfortunately, for some reason, the chat goes away, which I can't stand. So I will try to. Let's see if we. Is there a way to? No. Yeah, there is a way for me to contact you, or you guys can contact me. Contact me email, contact me at a Critical Hit Publishing on Facebook group, contact with me Messenger. I use Facebook pretty much exclusively. So if you can contact me that way, just ping me and I will absolutely respond. Please do that. Don't ask permission, just do it, and then I'll respond. And if you go, hey, you know what? Hey, send me a link Tuesday. I'd love to come on. It's perfectly fine. And actually, in it, that invitation is open to any and all of you, especially if you have something you want to promote. I am not above being used as a method to maybe get some camera skills going, get some, getting those kind of things going as well. Like, man, I don't know how to, talk live. This might be a little bit odd for me. So if that's a thing for you, sure, jump on in. Prue says, oh, whoa, chat moved a little bit. There we go. Vince says, moving is is way harder in Germany as well. Well, we move all our furniture as a default, and I'm still not sure if the internet will work out in the new place. Yeah, oh, that sucks, man. Damn. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, moving is just one of those things that we do, but it's like I at work, because we have here the Mega Millions where people win a lot of money, and we talk about people who are rich and have a lot of money and such, and the community that we deliver mail to is very affluent, and one of the methods of measuring how affluent you are is when you can move and you're never stressed out. Like if you're just that person that just makes a phone call, calls a moving service, and you spend a week and a half in an expensive hotel or something, or rent another house out just so that your stuff is already set up for you when you get to your next place. Yeah, you've made it. You're at the pinnacle of society at least. Prue says, I like just hanging back because I want the people who have stuff to show or sell to have the spotlight. I prefer support role mostly. Support rolling is far more important than you think. There is an energy that's involved in that, just like yourself, Fat Ninja DM, who loves taking the support role, and far more people don't understand cultivating that from people in the background. They're very important to have people like myself do what we do. Foolish Kiwi says, time to break out the armor in case I ever get the co-host. Either way, I'm excited to blow off week 2. Yeah, I've gotten some I've gotten very little backlash from me being in the public eye, but the few bits of backlash I've gotten has been pretty horrible. So there is a little bit of that. Like once you choose to put yourself out in a social media environment, there will be people who, strangely enough, waste their energy to attack you for some reason. And I'm just like, why would you waste your time? Like, just turn me off and then you'll never see me again, right? It's just like, why even express the energy to like hate on somebody? It's bizarre. Vin says, I have nothing to show off currently, or only DBJ wants to talk about deck building RPG in the show. Yeah, whatever. I'm there's always something I can talk about forever. So just like us sharing digital pizza, man, it's just like us sitting around, like just any and every subject is always fodder for bringing things up. And I'm a glass half full kind of person, so I'll find the good in the bad in it, no matter what it is. Scott posted, I don't know, DB, I've got some notes made during some of these chats. Thanks. I think just don't hurt yourself with the notes. Like, oh man, no. Of course, these chats are meant to be stolen. That's like, I don't own it. It's us talking and then going, oh man, that's a great idea. Let me write that down. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Wow. Some people just look for reasons to. Azala says some people just look for reasons to be mad. Yeah, I think we tend to be we're now in a societal change where the new drug is being offended, and people are looking for reasons to be offended for some reason, and I'm not exactly sure why. Like, I don't know whether it's an addiction to feeling that way. Maybe so many people we're inundated with so much information that we've become numb. And so the easiest way to feel something is to become offended by things. And so we like create these fake offenses, or try to artificially generate energy to be offended by something. So we can be offended by it for, today at the water cooler, and just replace it with some other offense later on. I think we just want to be offended by things to get that emotional energy out of us. And unfortunately, there are those who they don't realize that it's impacting other people. Prue says, "True, been there. Not in the online RPG community though. That's been all gravy. People have been awesome when I've been playing on stream. Really, that's awesome. If you've had nothing but positive experiences, hold on to that. Absolutely hold on to that." Foolish Kiwi says, as a bard in real life, as my job, I can confirm the saying, a person is smart, people are dumb. Yeah. When there's a massive crowd, sometimes dumb things happen, and online there's always a crowd. Yeah. That's just, I mean, even this thing, like, for example, like, I could be very turned off by this groundswell of people who are very upset about inclusion, right? If I threw up thumbnails and put out a bunch of videos that said, put up the word inclusion in the videos, they would instantly get thumbs down. And because there are people who are just like, oh, I'm just tired of hearing about it. I don't know why I have to be inclusive to people and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, well, I get that maybe there's something that you're hearing about and you're just like, oh, do we have to talk about this thing again? I get that. But to be active, I understand being reactive, but to actively go out of your way to punch down somebody else. Like, for example, there isn't a limited amount of attention out there, right? There's no finite limit of role-playing community. It's not like the glass is going to overflow if you include other people in it. So then that puts me in a position like, wait a minute, like, I understand what you're saying, but what it comes across to me is, F you, DBJ, I don't feel like you're worth it. And so when when I have to interact now, I'm thinking, are there people out there that are just like, oh, I just wish this guy would go away because I don't, do I have to? Does he really need to be included in our RPG community? And I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, well, all I'm trying to do is add to the energy, right? You know what I mean? I'm a value added kind of person. I don't want to be that person that's draining other people. I'd rather add something to it. Yet there's a groundswell of role players out there who don't know me. And they may have never seen me. They may have heard me or known my name, but they don't realize that the words they're saying are like, I mean, they're basically giving me a big middle finger. They're saying, F you, dude. Like, you don't deserve to have a piece of art or a paragraph or even to be included in this community that I'm part of. I'm thinking, dude, I'm in your community. And as a matter of fact, if you've never seen me before, or you've heard my voice and you don't know that I'm African American, like you're actually um, partaking in things that I'm creating, and at the same time telling me F you. Like that's just a weird negative, like, oh, it's just like, oh, it's annoying to me. It's just like, don't go out of your way to push people back. Just go, okay, that's not me, and turn it off. Like that's a better use of your time and energy, I think, than to say evil things. Uh, Vince says you are barred at what level? To Kiwi, I'm going to guess 5th level. That's what I'm going to guess at. Prue says I had some memes on meanies on G Plus back in the day, and I suspect I have people mad at me when my podcast gets out. Yeah, when your podcast gets started, please send me the information. Come on the channel, give me the information, and we'll link up. We'll a high tide floats all ships. Azala says, I always view it from the perspective of inclusion is great, forced inclusion is not. There is a rule, the Rooney Rule in the NFL, because I'm going to end it on this. The Rooney Rule in the NFL states that when for a long time, American football, the NFL did not have any minority or African American coaches or people in the upper staff levels, and it was because they were just ignoring them. There was a culture of, yeah, you can throw the ball and catch it, but you're not adequately, you're not smart enough to be in the upper levels of management. So the Rooney Rule came out, and the Rooney Rule states that you are to, hey babe, you too. You are to interview a select number of minority individuals. There is no rule that states that they must hire them. The rule just states you have to interview like 3. I think there's a number, there's a percentage number, and I believe that turns out to be 3 for managerial positions, coaches, trainers, upper level staff members. Just interview them. Come to find out, percentage wise, that it was like there was like a 3% minority upper management level, and then since they instituted the Rooney Rule, it turned out to be like a 28% level or something. It was crazy jump up, and the reason for the Rooney Rule was because, hey, you've got to talk to these people. You don't have to hire them. There is nothing stating that you have to pay them a certain level. Nothing. Just talk to them. Just talk. And I feel like in our RPG community, if you just have a conversation with people, you just interact. You just, hey, these people that you've never talked to, you've never even thought you would even speak to, maybe you have some built-in prejudices, and just you find out that these other individuals are just people, then you'll see inclusion become something that the word will disappear because everybody will automatically be included. When you don't know something, fear leads to hate, and it's just a natural biological reaction to protect ourselves. And so if you don't know a community of people, there's this like, I want things for myself. You need to go on the other side. When we don't realize that when we include people, just talk to people, just have people who we don't know and don't understand in our role-playing community. You don't know what creative elements there are. Human beings are always value added. So anyway, Vince says, I think people always find a reason to hate you, even if it is that they hate. It is stupid. Yeah, I thought about getting a t-shirt that says I hate. Yeah. Poo says, DBJ, it's all about dance and dancers. So not relevant here, but thank you. Yeah. It's kind of relevant if you think about it. Foolish Kiwi says, I agree with that on a spiritual level. Azala, don't play with buttheads, but don't try and force buttheads to play with you. It's like trying to force a painter that hates you to portray you being petty. Azala says, is someone interested in the game and is a good player? Great, come on, happy to have you. The issue is you need to let me in because X. And I think people are misinterpreting like the inclusion. Like you must have a certain percentage of people in your game. I think that's a misinterpretation. I think the idea is marketing means money. Money means more people. More eyes on your game means more people will buy it. And then you want those people to buy your game. So guess what? If that means, like here in the United States, if that means I want to put my product out, if I'm making widgets and I want people to buy it and they speak Spanish and I want them to buy it, I'm going to put it in Spanish. Now, you could be annoyed and go, well, we're Spanish-speaking people. We're in America, blah, blah, blah. You can fold your arms, but we're also a free country. And if I'm selling widgets, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have those widgets appeal to those people, which is why we have television commercials that have people of different ethnicities, because people have a product and they want those people of different ethnicities to say, hey, yeah, you too can enjoy this product as well. Come on in. I don't believe it has anything to do with forced demographics in gaming tables. That's a little ridiculous. But the freedom, like if someone's at my gaming table is like, hey, I love to play a gender fluid elf at my table, I'm like, why are you asking me? Just play it. Like that. Like that's not political. That doesn't offend me. There's no difference to me playing a tiefling or a drow or a Goliath or a gender fluid elf. So, or the when I was younger, the Tolkien-esque medieval world where black people don't exist, but there's elves and dwarves. Like it's not even a gaming thing. Like when you include people, like there's no die roll or mechanic that makes like, hey, my character has dreadlocks. Okay. And great, cool, sweet. I love it. Vince says, I personally would love to play with types of people who I don't really know much. Even if it sounds stupid, I think I've never played with someone that has a dark skin tone because they are rare here in Germany. And it's just a matter of experiences, right? Like my parents raised me in an environment that she didn't protect me from, but exposed me to other things. And like I could if I want to, like I could turn on a really Ebonic style accent if I want to. Like I can get kind of grimy, but it's a learned trait. And at home, she would never let me speak that way. And if she would say some words to me, and it was like, I don't know what that mitigate. What the hell does mitigate mean? And she point finger at the big thick ass dictionary. Go look it up. She'd always throw things at me like, speak proper or else. Like the answer is going to be no. You want to go out with your friends, and I'm like, yo, can I go out with my friends? Yo, moms, yo. Then the answer is going to be no matter what. But if I come up and say, hey mom, can I? I'd love to go out with my friends. I'll be back by 10 o'clock this evening, and I'll let you know where I'll be, blah, blah, blah. Then the answer was always yes. And so that even me, for myself within my own community, um, like there's plenty of people who feel like I don't fit in, or what have you, and those are that's fuel for role playing and learning how people live. um to me, I can't get enough of, there's not enough knowledge out there. There's too many things I don't know, right? And how people live and how they, express themselves. For example, I didn't realize that, a friend of mine went to Japan and didn't realize that they don't really have breakfast food, but here in the United States, like, breakfast is its own thing, and that sounds awesome. Vince says, "Yeah, it sounds stupid to say it that way, but saying someone is black or Schwartz is actually offensive here in Germany. So I'm used to not using these terms." Exactly, and that's another thing too. Like the here in the States, things are a little bit. We don't realize, having like an arrogant kind of like self-importance. We don't realize that things are different in other places. Whether it's just dealing with race or religion or culture or something. Like we tend to feel as a people, like it was mentioned by Foolish Kiwi, people are smart, but I mean, a person is smart, but people are stupid, and it's very easy to fall into like the mob mentality. Hey, that person's angry, I'm going to be angry with them. Yeah, it feels good. I think it's just an emotional expression to get things out, and we become addicted to the emotional expression without the logic behind it. So I think sometimes we just like to raise our fists in the air at different things just to excise those emotional demons out of us, but we don't realize that is having a negative effect on other people. Like, hey, wow, boy, I got to get online and shout some hate out there. Woo, I feel better. And then we don't realize, like, wait a minute, there's somebody else on the other line of that, and it's affecting them for weeks, months, years to come. Those kind of things. Full Metal State says, "Good morning, DBJ in chat." Full Metal State, a little bit late. I gotta punish you on that. I gotta smack the back of your hand. Bad Metal State, bad Full Metal State. I'm just messing with you. Vincent Shine says, "We mockingly say maximum pigmented here sometimes." That's, oh, sweet. I gotta get a t-shirt. I would say I'm here in the States, I'm probably a good 7.5 on the maximum pigment scale. Like I have no, like, for example, like being African American is completely different than being from Africa. Like there's a 400 plus year gap between me and the people I came from. So there's we have a big separation of that here. Like there's no relationship whatsoever. My entire culture and background is made up of everything made here in the States. There's no path back to my ancestry. I mean, there is, but I'm saying, like, as cultures pass on different things and background, like there isn't that in here for me and mine. So yeah, we're like two separate things. Like I'm the only reason I'm even this color is because of genetic interbreeding, which is kind of funny because it's like people who think that they're racist probably I'm not going to go there. I was going to go something a little bit dark. We'll save that for next week. We can save the darkness for then. Full Metal State says, "Yeah, hence the travel." As I was heavily strayed, you know me, got to go off. We passed the hour mark, so I can honestly say that we haven't quite broken the rules yet, but we do. Scott Poe says, "Squirrels everywhere. Just add an appropriate rider. Elven squirrels, cyborg squirrels, Lovecraftian squirrels." Yeah, we could do far future squirrels, like eclipse phase squirrels, where we each download our brains into a particular squirrel that we want. We could do Western squirrels. They could be riding on the back of, maybe not ponies. We need something small, like weasels or like ferrets or something. Maybe something a little bit bigger. Badgers, possums. We could do that. So I'm going to end it here, guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for letting me be part of your day. You could pick anything else to do, but you decide to join me in a chat. Join me in just exercising all those things in your brain. So thank you for joining me. Thanks for uh, always giving me the positive energy to keep me doing what I'm doing. Again, all the information that you need about what I'm involved in and maybe what the greater community will be involved in is down in the meaty section of the video right below. It is the foundation of the video, if you will. Again, I'm always writing. I'm always trying to produce something. Going to make a 710 pigmented shirt for DBJ. There you go. That'd be awesome. Yeah, the flying squirrels, distracting and unfair. Yeah, who wants to include squirrels? We're all about chipmunks here. Darn inclusion of squirrels. Stupid. Yeah, Finn says I'm somewhere at -1. Stop. Oh man. Hey man, don't get it twisted, man. I still tan up. Yeah, that's not a real thing. Like that's, I mean, unless you're like on a 9 or 10 scale, like yeah, I still got the tan. I wish I could show you. I can't. Oh, I don't have my mailman's tan anymore. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. If you want to be part of anything, join the Discord. Check us out on Critical Hit Publishing on Facebook. Message me, send me an email to rpgwithdbj@gmail.com. Check out please join me for the cinematic environments panel I'm going to do for the 24-hour convention. Check out the 99-cent adventure keys we release every D6th and D20th on Drive-Thru RPG. So check that out as well. And of course, check out all the people who make this possible. I have some of their links below as well. So check them out. And guys, thank you very much. I've got to go to work. Ugh, I do this so early. So again, thank you very much for joining me. I am RPG with DBJ. I am Dave Rian Jackson. Have a very good day. I'll see you tomorrow.